Mr. Sandeep Kulshrestha, but I need to check the pronunciation of his name from him. But before that, I would like to tell what Mr. Sandeep might be talking about. He is the founder and CEO, Rectangle Consulting India. He's a startup consultant, leader, coach, and corporate learning facilitator, and brings on board 25 years of experience as a human resource leader and best practices curator. His areas of interest include leadership, communication, and positive psychology. He is going to unravel the secret of developing positive habits. Individuals who practice such daily positive habits and rituals, he believes, are happier, contented, and at peace than who do not engage in such interventions. So let's have it from Mr. Sandeep Kulshrestha, Positive Habits for a Flourishing Life. Over to you, Mr. Sandeep.
Thank you, Dr. Nadia, and I think you pronounced my name really well. I think there are very few people who can pronounce it, and I was not expecting somebody from the other side of the border would be able to pronounce it well. And so I thank you a lot for inviting me over to this amazing conference of ideas, and I'm really perplexed now because after hearing Dr. Richard, I think I don't have many things to say. But I'll try my best to kind of give you a perspective of what I bring on table. And so thanks once again. And I think I see a bunch of professionals behind this, and I'm really amazed the way that you respond to emails. And sometimes I just wonder whether, what kind of service you're using. Within seconds, I get a response, and, I really appreciate all of you for that. Right, so I'll share a small presentation, and I would look forward to having more questions rather than talking more about what I intend to do. So with that, I'll share a small presentation to your audience. Yeah. Yes, so the topic for my discussion was, as Dr. Nadia mentioned, positive habits for a flourishing life. And these are not something which people cannot do and or cannot undertake. These are very simple things which one can do on a daily basis. And so my bio is already there, and Dr. Nadia shared that with all of you. So I'll look at the PERMA model of flourishing, which is developed by Dr. Martin Seligman from UPenn in the US. So PERMA is an acronym for positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. So the first level of happiness comes from our positive emotions. And what are these positive emotions? These are hope, gratitude, joy, love, celebration, amusement, mindfulness. So I'm sure all of you would be sometimes or the other facing or experiencing these positive emotions. And so what happens when we express our positive emotions or we experience positive emotions, we feel happier. The research says when we experience more positive emotions, our serotonin and dopamine level increases in our brain, which are the hormones for happiness and pleasure. The other thing in flourishing is engagement. How are we engaged at work, home, or in the community? Engagement doesn't only mean getting a job or getting to work. It also means how intensely we are engaged to what we do and whether that brings us happiness or not. And what kind of relationships we are kind of nurturing. Do we have relationships that nurture positive actions? I'm not saying that all relationships can be positive, but can we nurture more positive relationships is the key to flourishing. And this model comes from the field of positive psychology, which is a very new field in psychology. Around a couple of decades back it started. And so relationship is a big part of it. So when we experience positive relationships, we experience better happiness and better flourishing. The next bit of information comes in the meaning and purpose of it all. What is the larger worldview we nurture? Let's say somebody is a faculty. What is the larger worldview? Are we creating the workforce for the future? Or are we creating the future generation who is equipped to handle various tasks? Or we are just teaching for the sake of teaching? So what is the meaning and purpose of the large, and what is the larger worldview we are kind of experiencing or expecting? And the next is accomplishment. How do we celebrate small moments of achievements? For example, I was just watching the background pictures of of this conference, and I forgot the lady's name, but she was feeling very happy about it. And, it was like a small accomplishment how we are interlinking the conference to the pictorial, representation of the conference as such. So this model is represented in a pictorial form. P is for positive emotions, E for engagement, R for relationships or positive relationships. M stands for meaning and purpose, and A stands for accomplishment. Now we come to what are the positive habits which we can build on a regular basis. Sense of gratitude is one. I think a lot of religious traditions talk about having gratitude, practicing gratitude, but many people do it on an autopilot. We don't actually really write down a gratitude note, or writing a gratitude note for somebody or for yourself. It kind of brings a bit of happiness and content in people's lives. I'll check on this later on when we do Q&A, how many people actually feel a sense of gratitude in what they do. And building a self-appreciating narrative, so I think both successes and failures are our own, and we should kind of own them. And we should try to build more self-appreciating narrative. Even if we fail at something, we can always tell ourselves that at least we tried doing something really great. And the next bit is re-engineering the negative emotions. How can we think of negative emotions as something from which we can learn? I guess it's easier said than done, but if we kind of re-engineer those negative emotions, then we can look at that emotion from a different perspective. What is the learning from it? How can we change our perspective? That's what is about re-engineering negative emotions. Are we savoring positive experiences? Positive experiences, let's say attending this conference, I was listening to Dr. Richard. I was savoring that moment because there was so much of beautiful content out there. Or even savoring things like, a lunch break or a tea break, or an interaction with somebody whom you like to talk, or if you're with your loved ones. So are you savoring those positive experiences and remembering them in a beautiful way? Next is using your strengths when faced with challenges. Let's say we got workplace stress. In this COVID situation, a lot of people, I think, lost their jobs or, had to face pay cuts. What are their inherent strengths? Are they using them, to the fullest while coping up with these challenges? That's a question to ask. Dr. Seligman from UPenn, who coined the word positive psychology, also says that we can learn optimism. We can learn to be optimistic. If you feel these positive emotions on a daily basis, if you savor positive experiences, if we have sense of gratitude, then we can learn to be optimistic as well. And optimism is a key to happiness. If you're not optimistic, I think in South Asian tradition, we are always kind of optimistic about a better future. And that's pretty much evident in the way we live. Building resilience. And resilience is something which, again, is an attribute which is very important for people to kind of understand. Resilience is not merely bouncing back to a regular state. It's also getting that grit and determination to do something in a much more different fashion. And resilience is important for wonderful successes in life, as well as for students, as well as for faculty. Building resilience, there are a lot of people who do training for resilience in different countries and cultures. And the last bit of information in this is being mindful. Mindfulness is now recognized as a non-religious way to practicing, appreciating the present moment. And mindfulness meditation is one part of it, but being mindful also means appreciating what is happening right now. Like I'm talking to an audience in a virtual conference. I was used to a regular conference where people were sitting across the table, and it was a very good moment. But here also, I'm mindful of the time. I'm mindful that what I'm talking about, and I'm also mindful to make people understand what I'm talking about. So mindfulness is the key to, again, happiness. So coming back to how positive habits can be developed, I think each and everything can be developed by individuals. Like there's something called a gratitude journal or gratitude diary, or a blog where you can write your, good things which happen to you during the day or during the week. So Dr. Seligman at UPenn talks about 3 best things which happen to you during the day. Maybe you can pen it down in a gratitude diary. That helps in making you much more happier and appreciative of what you're doing. One can also develop positive rituals about self-appreciating at the start of the day and at the end of the day. One can also try to savor as many as positive experiences during the day and nurture the thoughts around them. And so similarly, all these things like practicing resilience, being mindful, can be practiced on a daily basis, and it doesn't take much time. It might just take 10-15 minutes of the day at the start or the end of the day. So these habits, of course, help in better focus and alignment with our goals, because if you're happier, then I think the possibility of achieving our goals becomes much more evident, because we look at them from a very positive perspective. And so, as I mentioned earlier, we can deconstruct failures, as positive learning experience. So, I mean, we can re-engineer our negative thoughts towards more positive. And positive habits also help facilitating a healthy mind, because we are full of, better things to do. I mean, our mind is working through a better paradigm. Helping celebrate small and minute successes, it's very important. If you have a small success, maybe you can pat on your back and, offer yourself your favorite, dessert, a donut, or, a sweet or whatever. And it also sets you up in searching for that meaning and purpose in your life, even in minuscule acts where you are positively engaged. Like I mentioned, the background pictures, where it's also related to some bit of meaning and purpose, that, I achieved something meaningfully today in this conference. So I'm taking this example quite randomly. So I'm sorry if that example is not really. I'm not able to give the gratitude to the presenter. I forgot her name, but I'm kind of very happy with the way she did that. Yeah. So, and how can we create a dialogue, a space for an inner dialogue? And that's very important when we look at the positive habits. It's more of a self-reflection tool. And it also helps building resources for the future successes and accomplishments. So that's how the positive habits help. And one can create a kind of a dashboard for their own positive habits on a daily basis, whether it's a computer file or it's a written notebook. So all these things kind of help a lot in developing our worldview in a different format. So this is what I was going to talk about. My presentation, I think, must be the smallest of all speakers here, but I was more interested in the questions part of it, so that we can have a dialogue in this conference.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Sandeep, and really something that we all need to look into. The first question that came to my mind when I was listening to you was about, how to develop resilience, positivity, and optimism when the environment is not conducive to it. So sometimes there is an inner urge and motivation that you need to actually get these positive qualities inside you and make a difference. However, the people you come across and the environment that you are situated in doesn't allow you. So in that respect, is the struggle going to be more intense and difficult for a human being?
Well, I'll not use the. Thanks for the question once again. I think this is a very interesting and very relevant question, because especially we are in a situation where we had economic slowdown anyway, and then we came with the COVID kind of situation. And you also mentioned, when you meet people around, and we hear things that things are not working fine. Some people might get pay cuts or whatever. So it's a challenging time, of course, but we have to look at our inner resources. What makes us feel happy. Let's say what we have gratitude for. For example, even when you're working day and night as in academics or in the field of any corporate job, what is our learning all through this, and what learning from the past can take us along in the future as well. So it's we need more self-reflection. And the gratitude diary, of course, is a very simple tool. A lot of people laugh it off, because when I talk to people, can you write a gratitude diary? They say, no, this is not what we want to do, because we want to, do a better job at what we're doing. I said, but no, but gratitude diary makes you aware that, there are a lot of things which are positive as well. Like, so we ask people to write 3 things which happened during the day, which are positive in nature, or from where you could have learned something. And so that by the end of the month, you see there are 90 entries anyway in that, and so you've got a lot of things to look back upon. So
Yes.
I think that's the starting point. Yeah, and when we are mindful, we savor experiences, and let's say you have a dialogue with somebody, you savor that experience, that okay, I had some good things to talk to that person as well. So that's the starting point, I guess. It's not a easy journey, of course, I agree with you. And positive psychology doesn't have a miraculous answer to every life challenging situations. Yeah, but yes, we need a starting point. Yeah.
Right. So we need to start from somewhere. Yes, definitely. Very interesting question that has come up with about gratitude. So we need to have gratitude, as you say, for the work we are
Yes.
doing. But sometimes in society, that is regarded as self-praise or perhaps
Mm-hmm.
narcissism. So should we conflict it with narcissism, or we should just stick with the gratitude we have with ourselves?
Yeah, very interesting question. I think I need to do a lot of work in Pakistan because there's so many interesting questions coming from there. Yes, so I'll tell you, there's a difference between being narcissist and having gratitude. Narcissist is the person who says I'm the best, I do my job the best, and I'll not be fired from my job, because or even if somebody's fired, that company was not, up to the mark, so I anyway wanted to leave. So narcissism is more of self-praise, while gratitude is thankfulness, right? So let's say I have a top. I'll write a gratitude diary that I had a good conversation with Dr. Nadia, because that's not being narcissist, right? Because I'm just appreciating what happened and what I benefit and what I gained from it. So narcissism, of course, is a very negative emotion, because narcissists usually are not really happy, because they might be happy. I'm not disputing the fact that they might be happy as well, but they always want validation from others. Others should tell you the great, you're the best. But a person who has gratitude will not perhaps seek that. Yeah.
Right. So that was really very encouraging that this is not narcissism, and we are on the right track emotionally. So we have several questions, and we would like to ask them, but of course there is another speaker we'll have
Yes.
to accommodate. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to actually put them in the chat box, and perhaps you would be kind enough to answer them for us and our
Sure, I'll
audience.
do that.
That will
Yes,
be wonderful.
definitely. Yeah.
And we would request you to be with us and just bear with us for another session. And perhaps, it'll be lovely to have this wonderful conglomerate of experts with us. All
Yeah,
right.
I'm so happy to hear that. I'm not bearing with you. I'll be really happy to be part of this. Right? So, yeah,
Right.
I'll happy to continue for some more time. Yeah, thanks a lot, and
Excellent.
thanks for this opportunity. I thank all of your team for giving me this opportunity to present.
Our pleasure, sir.